Hello everyone and welcome to another scrapbook layout process video where I am doing a double page spread for the month of September for the 365 Days of Weather project that I'm doing with my good friend Julie Carriere from over in Canada. And as you probably know by now, the colours that we are using on our layouts are all from a colour chart that Julie designed featuring certain ranges of temperature. This month, the sketch that we're scrapbooking from is the one that Julie created, and she created these fun film strip accents. And when she designed the sketch, she put those, and you'll see on her layout that she's done, and I'll have a link to that below in the description, and I'll also have a link at the end of the video as well. But you will see that she has used the sketch and she put the film strips at the top. But I decided for mine I was going to swap it out a little bit, and I've put the film strips down the bottom. Now, if you're using the design space file, these strips have been designed so that they all cut in individual strips. You can see this here. They're all individual pieces. And then the Cricut file, the colours for the day that they represent, these little squares will range from the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and so on and so forth, right to the 30th of September. These will fit exactly inside the film strip if you use the design space file. Normally when we think of film strips, you think of cutting them out in black, but my photos are predominantly navy blue and white, and you'll see why in a moment, because I don't actually have that many photos from September, but the ones that I have are a specific day and a specific theme for this month. So I decided to stick with the Sapphire. I've got a zip strip here, and I've also got some pattern paper, and this dark grey here represents the pattern paper, but I decided to mat it on a larger piece of sapphire as well because I used a fairly subtle pattern, so I wanted that to stand out from the white background. And the other thing that you'll notice with the design space file, if you're using it, these film strips have been grouped together and they are at the back of the actual elements panel so that it's easy to go through and select each square so that you can color those in because they're sitting on the top layers of the elements panel. So it makes it easy to go through, click on those and select the colors that you need to fill your squares to represent the temperature for that specific day. So I'm just going to take the iPad away and just run through quickly what I'm doing with this. I will have a zip strip that will be at 4 inches from the bottom, and then I'm going to adhere all these film strips across, and they will reach the 12-inch width of the paper. Once I get the zip strip down, I'll be able to adhere these with some glue, liquid glue, and butt them right up against the edge of this zip strip. This is from a really old packet from Seize the Day. I keep my zip strips in a big bag, and then I just rifle through them. So Seize the Day was back in 2020, but it really suits my photos really well. So as you can see with these cuts here, I'm predominantly still in the Avocado and the New England Ivy range, but I have got a few warmer days where it got over 20 degrees Celsius. So I've got some Toffee days there. So you can get the idea of how these are going to fill. There's also a journaling spot that Julie has put in for the people that are using the Cricut file. And because I've got white pages and this gets a little bit lost on the mink pattern here, this is from an old retired mix-in, but I thought it worked quite well with my photos. So what I'm going to do is just go around the edges of this lightly and just ink that so that it will separate it a little bit from the white of the background. Using this little sponge dauber tool means that I can get into the corners a little bit better. So you can see that will stand out quite nicely against the mink when I put it on there against this mink and white pattern. And my title, I've used the same font as I've spoken about throughout this series, and I will put that link to the video in case you haven't watched it that shows you how to create these outline titles and use a font of your choice. We've got a couple of camera elements on this. I've already gone ahead and put these together. They're really easy to assemble. I've used a retired silver metallic paper, but you could use any grey paper or you could use glitter paper if you wanted to do that. And there's really only 3 sections to adhere onto the base. So there's this little strip here, the main part of the camera details, and also a little circle. In the sketch and in the design space file, there's also these little heart banners. But you can see when I put these on on top of my photos that it does look a little bit dull. So I'm just going to cut up some small sections of white daisy, and I'm going to do that by hand. I'm not doing this on the Cricut because I'd already cut these out. And I'm just holding that there, and I can sort of see through it when I hold it up to the light, how big to cut my little piece of white. And I'm going to adhere that to the banner, and then that will be a little bit crisper up against my photos. The first thing I'm going to do for the process is adhere my zip strip. And I'm lining this up on my Versamat because I know that I want this at 4 inches from the bottom, and this will help me get this in exactly the position that I want. And before I press too heavily, I'm just going to bring in my T-ruler to make sure that that's all good. And then the next thing I'm going to do is adhere this piece. So this large photo mat area is going straight up against the zip strip. And sometimes our 12-inch white daisy is a little bit wider than 12 inches. So I'm bearing that in mind for this. I'm going to trim that section off later. And now that I've got that there, I can go through with my liquid glue and start adhering these pieces. So you don't need very much glue on this because you don't want it to squish out the sides. So basically what I've done is the flush edge of these pieces is going at the top. And then that butts right up to the top there. And the other pieces that have the open-ended cut in some of the areas are going at the bottom. And I quite like how that looks on the page to have those little strips hanging down. It looks like they've just been cut and hung up to dry while the film is processing. So with the magic of video, all my temperature colours are put into the film strip squares, and I've also gone ahead and adhered my photos. So I've double matted those with white and sapphire. And this is my journaling spot. I haven't actually typed up all the journaling as yet. This was a spur of the moment trip that my daughter and I did to go down and watch our football grand final with my parents. We are all Geelong Cat supporters, and we thought we'd surprise them because we used to watch it all the time with them, and they live in a beachside country town. So we drove down and back on the day and surprised them to sit down and watch our team win quite convincingly the grand final. So it was an exciting day for us all. I've got my September title ready to go. It's going to go over here because there's a lot of white area and I quite like it like this, but before I stick that down, I'm going to put some adhesive onto my camera element that's going on this side because I want to tuck that under. So I just need to hold that in place with this over top so I know where to put it if I get my fingers out of the road. So I think that'll look quite nice here in that corner, and then I can put my September title joining up these elements as well, which sort of gives them all a little bit of continuity. Before I stick that down, I'm going to get my T-ruler out so that I've got these letters here all nice and straight. As I said, I'll put my journaling onto this. I'm going to use the shipping labels like I have done in the past, and I've got foam tape on here that I will adhere to this once I've done my journaling and put that down there. And these little hearts I'm going to attach semi over top of the photo. I'm not going to put foam tape on them. I'm just going to do them like this so they sit up just a little bit like a banner. I'm going to put another one here. And as I said before, I cut 3 of these out, but I'm only using 2. And I've got these little hearts left over from the inside pieces of the ones that I cut. So I think what I might do is just add those around these elements here. I don't want them to go to waste. I've got a bit of glue stuck on my thumb, so it keeps picking everything up. So I quite like the placement of those. Make sure I've got the dark side of Sapphire. And I'm going to get my pickup tool and pick that up. It's good to use on pieces of paper that aren't too large as well. So it's not just handy for sequins, you can also use it for small pieces of paper. That works quite well. I've pulled out some glitter gems. These are actually Bluebell glitter gems. I don't know that you can get these anymore. If they are, I will link them, but I'm not going to keep them this colour. I'm going to colour them with my Tri-Blend marker. I'm going to use the True Blend shades. I'm not sure how dark this is going to come out. Rather than start with the dark, I'm going to start with the light and colour one of these, and it's a little bit bright. I can see with that colour there that it's too bright. So I'm going to go straight in with the dark of the shades. You need to go around the outside. I hope you can see what I'm doing there, just so that you get full coverage. If you just go on the top, the little side sections don't get coloured, so you just need to push your marker in sort of like you're going underneath to get the colour on all the pieces of these glitter gems. I want to do it in like a grouping of 3. So I know this is fairly spread out, but I think it will work quite well. And then I'm going to do 3 over this side as well. I'm going to mimic that one there. So it's like anchoring this film strip and also the zip strip. And then I've got 2 little ones to sprinkle around here as well. So I'm going to pop one there. And I think that's all it needs. I don't think I want to add any more of these larger gems. So I didn't have as many photos for September as what I normally do. It was a month of a lot of prep work and crafting behind the scenes. And this is what I've got for September, but it does tell the story of what a happy September it was for us. But I'm really happy with how this looks. I know I've twisted the sketch a little bit from what Julie did, but I did want to show that when you use a sketch, it is a jumping off point. So you can add double mats to things, you can rearrange the layers and where you're positioning all your elements. Make sure you go and check out Julie's video if you haven't done so already. I know her pages are absolutely wonderful, so you want to check out what she's done with that. And I will see you next time. Happy crafting and bye for now.